Hello? Hello. Good morning. Thank you for coming. This is a big room full of people, man. No pressure. I'm Stan Marczewski. I'm the National Director of Promotion at Stony Creek Records. And I'm here today to talk about AI prompt writing. One of the things I love about working at BMG is many things, but one of the main things is they have amazing educational opportunities there. So they're focused on being in the forefront for AI and everything. So we've just been blessed with a lot of classes and learning opportunities about this over the last year or so. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've learned and hopefully help you just get comfortable with making prompts, because prompts are the way that we speak to AI. It's just the way that we communicate with it, and it's not rocket science, really. You know what I mean? It's just a way of getting comfortable of putting things in a certain order so that AI can give you the best response possible. If that makes sense. So jump right into it. Why do AI and prompts matter? If you're speaking to AI properly, you're going to be able to get way more creative with any ideas that you have, and try to expand on things. Think outside the box, get outside of the things that you normally do. So if you're looking for creative ideas for your radio station, and you're able to communicate in just a very succinct way with good information, you're going to get really high quality, creative responses from AI that will help you be more successful and give you more time back in your day to do some of the things that a person can do and a computer can't do. So today's mission is just that. We're going to learn some prompting frameworks that will help you. So I think to understand how ChatGPT and Gemini and some of these others work is to just kind of understand what is an AI chatbot exactly, and how does it understand what you're asking. It runs on chatbots like ChatGPT, Gemini, and others run on something called a transformer model, which basically means that it doesn't really know like facts. It's not like a huge brain that just has all this information and just like the way that we think. What it's basically doing is using a large language model to try to guess what the next best word is in a sequence of words that you're asking it. So if I say to you right now, peanut butter and jelly, right? That's probably going to be the next best word. I guess it could be anything. It could be, chicken or something. But I mean, it is, But it's looking at the information it's been trained on, and it's drawing, inferences from all of the information that has been put into it, and that peanut butter and jelly has probably shown up a bunch of times, so it knows that the next best word is peanut butter and jelly. So that's why when you're making prompts, if you're not giving it great information and it's very vague, it can't guess what you're looking for. It can't guess what that next best word is, if that makes sense. So what does a bad prompt look like? Now, some of you may not know, but we are celebrating a #1 on jelly right now, unofficially. But this isn't necessarily a bad prompt, right? I mean, you say, write a liner about Jelly Roll's latest #1 this week. I mean, there's some information in there, right? You want to know about Jelly's #1, you want a liner, it's this week. So, but when you do that, it is kind of generic, because there's a lot of things that are left out of that, right? There's some really important information that's lacking. So let's look at what that looks like. I'm going to use ChatGPT today. All of this can be used in any program that you're comfortable with. So if you like Gemini or you like any of these others, it's fine. ChatGPT is the one that I've just been using, and it's a good all-around program. The other thing to know is there are some AI programs that are just better for certain tasks than others. So, again, OpenAI's product, it encompasses a lot of different things, but this will carry over into any of the different GPTs or different programs that you might want to use. So keep that in mind. So, for sake of time, I went ahead and kind of pre-did a lot of this, just so we're not sitting here typing and going in and trying to iterate and we will iterate later if you'd like. But here's what this looks like. Write a liner about Jelly Roll's #1 this week. And of course, it's going to give us its friendly, here you go, ready to fire liner that, the way that it speaks to you and try to be friendly and get you to continue to engage with it. And while those aren't really like bad necessarily liners, what are some of the things that are missing from there? The song title, right? You know, we're looking for maybe how many number ones Jelly's had, who's the important artist that was on it with him, Shabuzi, right? So that's not included either. So because we asked a kind of a generic question, it gave us generic information back. And that's what we want to try to avoid, right? If you really want to use this, and as you get better at using it, you'll know, like, okay, I need to include all of these things if I'm going to get a really, really good answer. So back to what I was saying, if a prompt is the instruction you give to AI to generate content, think of it as the smartest intern you've ever had who takes everything you say literally. So it really wants to impress you, it really wants that job. But if you're just giving it information, it's going to give you something that sounds good, and you're like, okay, well, that sounds pretty good, but it may just be completely wrong. So if you give it clear, specific prompts, you're going to get targeted, useful results that save time. If you give vague prompts, you're just going to get generic, unhelpful output that wastes effort. So strategic prompting is your station's competitive, creative advantage. Because if you're using this and you're using it well and your competition's not, you will have an advantage. So we're going to talk about two different prompting frameworks today. We're going to start with the RACE framework, and it's good for basically just spitballing, coming up with a lot of good ideas to then move on to figuring out what you want to do with those ideas. But if you're just looking for a lot of different ideas, this is a great framework for that. As you can see, it's good for contest ideas, ad copy, campaign concepts, the approach towards task and output focus. And an example would be provide 5 contesting ideas for the next 3 months. So let's see what that looks like. RACE is an acronym. The letters mean role, define who or what AI should be. For example, you're a country radio promotions expert. Action, specify exactly what you want AI to do. Generate 5 contest ideas as an example. Context, provide relevant background information, targeting 25, 45-year-old country fans in Texas. And then expectation, I like it in a list format and give it some catchy titles. Okay? So if you look at that, those are just some kind of very simple examples, but to get a little deeper, I went ahead and created a prompt. And as you can see, it's very detailed. And the more detail you give it, the better the response is going to be. And again, this is just purely to have an example for this class here, but we'll go ahead and read through it just so you can see kind of what you would maybe want to do. You are a highly creative radio promotions director for a top-rated station known for engaging, ratings-driven content. That's the role. Action. Generate 5 unique and compelling radio contest ideas that can be executed on air, on social, or through the station app. Context. The station targets adults 25-54 and wants to increase listenership, drive daily tune-in, and boost digital engagement. Contests should be easy to understand, fun to participate in, and scalable for multiple day parts. Prizes can range from cash concerts, tickets, to experiences and local partnerships. Ideas should feel fresh, not overused, interactive, and aligned with current listener behavior, texting, app use, social media, etc. And then you want to give it the expectation that you're looking for. Provide for each idea a catchy content name or contest name, a short contest overview, 1 or 2 sentences, how listeners enter and play, why it works, ratings or engagement driver. Keep ideas concise, creative, and ready for immediate use on air. So I know that was a lot of reading, but also it's really important because we're giving it a lot of detail. And as you're using these and as you're creating them, once you've found them, save them, because it will save you a little bit of time, on the front end when you're doing this, you're making some of these prompts, but as you're continuing to find out what works for you, you can get rid of some of that initial, creating of these. You can also use AI to help you create some of these. You can ask it questions and what best ways to use the information that you're giving it to give you a prompt that it will understand. So keep that in mind as well. Let's look at what this did when we put this in ChatGPT. So I went ahead and added the role, action, context, and expectation for everybody so you can kind of see. But when you do this, you don't have to put that in there. It's not something that's necessary. But you're basically, we're not going to regurgitate what I just said, but as you can see, that is the prompt that I used. And of course, it gives you the love this brief, right in your wheelhouse, your fresh five. You know, it's like just trying to be your friend, man. You know, it loves you. But as you can see, it gave you some really good ideas. It gave you, you know, and it followed the rules. It gave you the concept, kind of what you can do with it, how to play it, and then why it works. You know, so as you're looking at these, you can make a good decision. Man, that is a good idea, or no, you know, that's not really what I'm looking for, whatever. But as you can see, it did exactly what we asked it to do, because we gave it a lot of detail, and it came up with some good ideas that you could execute. So that is the race prompt framework in practice. The next one we're going to look at is called TCRAE, and I'm calling it TCRAE because I think I remember it like that, create like T creative, but really any way that you can remember it, works. But the way that you want to use this is after you've come up with some ideas and you want to flush an idea out. This is a framework that is really good for creating full strategies, getting a lot more detail, thinking about how you can actually execute the idea. So as you can see, for the purpose, refinement of ideas, strategic thinking, optimizing, focus, how the output should sound and feel, best for full strategies and developing a campaign, and it's a little deeper and smarter in approach. An example would be, create a full strategy to execute X contesting idea. So let's look at how that looks. So again, task, TCRAE, the acronym, we'll go through the letters here. Clearly define what you want the AI to do. Context, provide background info to shape the output. References, give examples or style guides to anchor the tone. So those are the three things you're going to use when you're making the actual prompt. Evaluate and iterate come after you've created that. And that's actually the more important part. I mean, obviously you just saw how to make the prompt, so once you created a really good prompt, how you evaluate it and the way you iterate and interact with it is going to be where the magic is, because that's how you can file it down, you can shape it and create something that really works for your station and your brand. So once you've made it and it spits out what you asked it for, don't take the first, the very first copy. Or unless you like it. I mean, maybe you like it and you're like, hey, this is perfect. But normally, as you iterate, as you ask it more questions, it's going to give you more and more detail or file it down to exactly what you're looking for. So, like the last one, we'll kind of go through this real quick so that you can get an idea of what I was thinking when I was putting this prompt together. And we took one of the ideas from the list of promotional ideas that I drew up, and we're just going to expand on that and actually ask it to give an actual execution plan for that. So under tasks, we have create a fully developed ratings-driven radio contest execution plan for a daily interactive promotion called Text Ballot, You versus the City. The contest will air on mainstream country radio targeting adults 25-54. The primary goals are to drive daily appointment listening, increase text database growth, boost engagement across on-air, app, and social platforms. The main idea is a daily opinion-based question where listeners text in their answer and compete against the city majority. Each day features a twist. Either match the majority, go with the crowd, or beat the majority and pick the minority. The game should feel simple and fast to understand, fun, debate-worthy, and shareable, built for repeat daily play. And under references, Use proven radio promotion principles, high frequency benchmarks like secret sounds, second date update, or battle of the sexes. Drive text-driven engagement models, short code, keyword entry, instant response field, social poll behavior, controversial, relatable, low-stakes opinions, mobile-first listener habits, quick interaction, instant gratification. Tone should reflect a top-performing, personality-driven country station with strong morning show and active digital presence. So again, a lot of detail, and because of that detail, you should get back a very, precise answer. So here's how it looks when we put it into ChatGPT. And again, I added the task context and reference just for our purposes, but you wouldn't put that in there when you're actually asking the question. And as you can see, there it is, being your friend again, giving you all of the emojis and everything. But as we go through this, you can see it's the title and it tells you exactly what it's trying to do. Gives you the core concept. 2 rotating game modes. Talks about the execution flow. Talks about your launch. Gives you some examples, some questions, some text info. And as you go through, you can see, this is very detailed. This isn't, this is really giving you a lot of information on how to exactly to, execute this contesting idea.
Hey Stan.
Yeah.
Is it possible for you to blow that up a little bit? Like just blow up the screen? Because it's for, maybe it's just me, but in the back of the room it's kind of hard to see. Is it possible?
Sure. And I'm gonna share these prompts with you. And I think yes, I can do that. I can see about doing that. Actually, it's hard for me to do from the way this is set up.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. My bad.
But yeah, I want you to see what this spit out. But really, more importantly, the point is that if you look at how much detail is in here, and because of the way that you created the prompt, it gave you a very detailed strategy on how to execute this particular contest. And it talks about, different categories of questions. It gives you everything that you need to do this. All of your digital information, app integration, daily recap posts, pricing strategy. The point really is that, the amount of time it would take one of us to put this contest together and this kind of presentation together, I don't know about, there's definitely people in this room who've been doing this a long time and are very, very good at radio and know how to do this, but this still takes time. And so what you've just done is eliminated an hour or 2 hours out of your day that you would be messing around with something like this. And you don't want to just have slop, right? You can go in and iterate, or you take this now and you put it in a document, you go with your team in a meeting, you say, hey, this is one of our ideas, this is something we're thinking about doing this summer, what do you guys think? Read it down, and then you start picking it apart, and that's where the human element comes in. But you just freed up several hours, or an hour, or 2 hours, even if it's 30 minutes of your day that you're not having to do something like this. You just gain that back where you can go and be, meeting with clients, or be, listening to actual music. Wow, what a concept, So, yeah, that's the big point about this, I think, is that the big takeaway is that, by using very, very detailed prompts, you're going to be able to get very, very detailed things back. And as you can see, the difference between the race prompt and TCRA, the race just gave us that list. It gave us some good ideas. This we were able to take in and really dig in and create a really refined marketing plan that gave us lots and lots of information. And of course it wants to keep going. This thing will just let you keep going forever, if you keep asking it questions. So that's really the point. If you use these two, when you're getting creative, coming up with ideas, you're going to be able to save yourself a lot of time and get some really, really good responses.
Is there such a thing as over asking prompt? And because I feel like I'll write out a prompt and I feel like it ignores a bunch of stuff. Maybe it's because I'm a cheapskate and haven't bought the folders.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you know, I get that too. I think that there is such a thing as that. I think if you go too deep or you go too long, and I think you could feel it too, right? Like when you start doing it, it starts getting too far away from like the initial, like what you were asking it, and it may go back to your actual initial prompt. That may be when you want to go back and look, okay, what information did I put in here? Why is it giving me this back? Because again, it doesn't know anything. It's guessing what you want, basically. And it's real smart at it, and real good at it, and every single time a new model comes out, it's not doubling, it's like 10 times every time, so it's getting better all the time. So I think to your question, I think it goes back to the actual prompt itself of like, maybe once you start iterating for a while and you're not getting what you want, go back and look at that initial information and maybe just create a brand new chat with it and dump the new prompt in and see what comes out of that, if that makes sense. Does anybody else have a question? Awesome.
I do have another one.
Yeah.
Is there less slop with the paid version? Does it get more focused on its own, or do you find that it's still spitting out random things that this doesn't make sense? Or?
Yeah, the reason I like, I mean, again, I don't really have an opinion either way on any of these. I'm not here to sell a product, but I like this just because it's been around a while and they've gotten pretty good at it and they've filed it down. I think, it can give you slop, but again, we're trying to eliminate the slop based on like the prompts. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's really about like, it sucks to have to take that much time initially to put in all that information. You feel like maybe you're doing a lot of work on the front end, but the more you do on the front end, the better it is. And I'd have to say that's probably across the board with every one that I've ever used. And I've used ones that are very specific for like data, and they're really just for data, and then some that are just Gemini or just some that are ChatGPT. So you're bouncing around, you're looking at different ones. I mean, really, if you're putting bad information in, you're going to get bad information out. You know what I mean? Across the board. And some people are just more comfortable for various reasons, political reasons, whatever it may be. There's reasons why people want to use certain ones of these, but whatever makes you comfortable, whatever you feel like you're getting the best information out of, I think is the one that you use, right? So, yeah. Anybody else?
I'd love to see the good version of the jelly roll liner.
Well, we don't have that a ton of time, so we could do that together if you like. But I think we could. We'd have to do some typing here to do it. But yeah, I mean, I think with the jelly roll liner, it would have been important to say, I would like it to feel like this. I would like and you would include jelly roll, Shabuzi and jelly roll, amen, #1 this week on this date. My station sounds, contemporary country, and you would add in the feel and the sounds and the moods, and you would use the framework that we discussed to answer those questions to get the kind of liner that you would want back. So again, it goes back to the frameworks, but yeah, we can absolutely do that if you guys would like to do that in the end. So again, after you've created your create prompt, the evaluating of it, the going in and actually really reading all of that information, and then iterating on the things that you didn't like. Perhaps with that text contest, there's been a lot of talk this week about engaging teens. Maybe you would want to change the demo and say, hey, maybe this would be cool for a younger demo. Let's change the demo to 18 to 24. So some of the questions might come out, younger sounding, or maybe come out a little bit different. You know what I mean? So that's just an example of how you might want to iterate. Perhaps you don't like some of the copy, some different things. As you're reading it down, as you're going through it, that's where the magic happens. Really, is the iteration. So best practices for prompting AI: be specific in detail, and we've talked about that a lot. The more context, the more detail you give it, the prompts, your output's going to be much better. Provide examples, and this is where maybe to your question, if you have been using this create liners, you have a sound and a tone and a feel for your station that you think is really working. When you ask it for a liner and you say, hey, give me a great liner for the jelly roll #1 this week with Shabuzi, putting in all the detail, and you say, as a reference, use this. And it will look at that and say, oh, okay, you need it to sound kind of like this. And so it will give you something that is close to what you've already, something that you've approved that you already like. Obviously, we talked about the use of iterative feedback, so, you know, make it more conversational, add urgency to the call to action, things like that that will help affect the tone a little bit. And of course, I think, you know, this is probably super important and maybe just overlooked sometimes, but you know your brands, you know what you've built and who you're talking to. So always when you're using this, try to remember to keep your brand and your station, you know, the values and the preferences front and foremost in everything that you're doing, because it is going to just give you what you're asking for. And if you're skipping over that step, that's a really important step that could come back to bite you if you're not careful. So here's a little checklist, and this will be available on the app. I've sent everything to Jennifer, so no need to, you know, if you want to take pictures or whatever, you can, but all of this information will be available to you on the app. And I've also created a Word document that has the prompts that I used today in it, so that you can go use those same prompts and play around with it. And that's really, at the end of the day, I mean, the more you use this, the more you practice, the more you play with it, the better it's going to get, and the easier it's going to get for you, and the more comfortable you're going to feel. And eventually, it'll just be like Google for you. You're just going to be like, oh, I need to do this. Oh, you put it in there and it works. So, but your checklist: define your goal. You're looking for promotion ideas. Do you need imaging, programming content? Clear goals lead to better prompts. Choose the right framework. Use RACE for generating promotional ideas, campaigns. Use T-Cray to bring those ideas to life. By the way, these aren't the only two frameworks. These are just the two we're talking to today. They're easy to use, easy to understand. But the more you get into this, the more you read about it, the more you do research, you're going to find other prompts that are awesome that can do other things. So, but you know, for your creative uses at your radio station, something you can take away today and start using. Those are two great frameworks. Draft your prompt. Write clear prompts with all framework elements: role, action, context, tone, emotion, and desired end result. And that's perfect for the liner. You know what I mean? If you're following all of that, if you were asking for a liner and you went down that list and you checked all those boxes, you're probably going to get something out of it that's really good. Test and refine. Review AI outputs. Iterate with follow-up prompts and refine until you get exactly what you need. And then try to find a way to implement and measure this so that you know it worked for you. So then when you're going back and trying to use this again, you know, like, hey, we tried this, it didn't really work well, and if you try it once, I mean, I wouldn't give up on it, maybe necessarily right away, maybe try something else, and then A/B things, and just like you might do in your social media or digital advertising that you're doing, to see which strategies are working, what information is working, and then, you know, chase that rabbit and continue until it gets better and better. So one of the main things to remember: this is a creative partner. This is not a replacement. This is not going after people's jobs here. This is something that just will create more time for you in your day, that will make you know, everybody more creative, and just like I say, just give you time back, really, if it's done properly. It'll give you it'll unlock new possibilities with creativity. So it'll help you just think outside the box and maybe look at something in a different way than you maybe have done before. And start with something small and think big about it. So, you know, you don't have to base your entire radio station around this, right? Like, find something small that you can work on first, test it out with that, think about it in a big way though. Think about how you could rethink something that hasn't been working for you and take that to the next level. So with that, yeah, that's what I have for you guys, and if you have any questions, yeah.
How do you feel the outcome is if you want to take, the station wants to take something that they're talking about on the air as a liner, but then they also want to kind of regurgitate it onto their station website, so they're going to want a visual.
Mm-hmm.
If they were, you know, saying, okay, celebrating Joey's #1, and then you wanted to do a visual, can you add a visual of Jelly Roll and Shabuzi, so then they can put that on their social medias, and then their station logo can be on there as well. And now they've got it going in 2 different platforms where people will reach the station. Yeah,
I think so, and I think that's a great time to be when you iterate. So once you've got what you want and you've really filed it down and you've got this like really, really good plan in place, you know, then maybe one of the last things you do, and I don't know, I'm not an art person, you know what I mean? So I don't know how this works. I don't pretend to know everything, you know. But maybe that's one of the last things you do. Once you've got it, you know what you want, and then you start asking for those images and stuff, because it's going to give you the images that correctly match like what you've been going for. But yeah, I think that would be it, right?
Just one thing, Stan, on that,
Sure.
about the images. if you can get an approved image to use, do that. Because I've just had to take down a couple of posters people made with that AI version.
Yeah.
And you can use that, it'll give you a much better outcome, and you can use some of the other, the visual, large language models that'll give you better graphics than
Mhm.
just actually.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's what I was saying. I mean, if you have Photoshop or you have some of these programs that are just very much designed for making visuals, those are going to be the ones you're going to want to use. But the same concepts apply, right? If you go into those programs and you use a great prompt, you're going to get a great image. You know, if you did, and that's where the AI slop stuff comes in, because someone will just go in there and say, "Give me a picture of." You know, XYZ holding a thing of Drew Balder saying "at me this week." You know, I did that actually one time. My friend said, I won't say his name, Dusty. He said, if I get a wild hair, I'll add that on Monday. And so I sent him a picture of a wild hair holding that Drew Balder thing. So, you know, if you have, like you said, you have approved images, it's going to come out great. Obviously, I have the approval to use Drew's, you know, stuff for our marketing purposes. But yeah, you know, if you're giving it bad info, you're gonna get a bad picture. Same thing. This all applies all the way across the board. So.
Did you use Gamma to make the presentation?
I did. This presentation was made by Gamma, and I don't. Are you guys familiar with Gamma? Have you used it? Anybody in this room? Oh, I know a lot of BMG folks have. But it's awesome for making presentations. It's an AI presentation. And if you prompt it properly, it will give you a great presentation. I did a lot of work on cleaning it up once it gave me the initial presentation, but you know, they're everywhere. All this stuff is everywhere. So you know, the more you're able to know about how to speak to it, the more you're going to get out of it. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Sorry.
No, it's great.
One thing about speaking, they think, you just talk to it, like use the audio, the
Yeah.
voice,
Mhm.
because it'll learn you,
Mhm.
and it'll give you better information based on who you are and what you give it.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
Yeah, and back to like how exponential this is getting with like how fast it's getting better and better and better. Like, you know, a year from now, what we're looking at and how we're using this it's going to change a lot. But I still think the same principles apply, right? When you have a framework to work with and you give it real clear and concise information, even if you're speaking to it, you still have to give it really clear, concise information, or you're just not going to get what you want out of it. That'll probably never change. It'll just get a little bit better and a little bit better in understanding who we are. So, does anybody else have a question? Well, I hope you guys got something out of this, and thank you so much for coming.